Hello and welcome to another lecture in the veterinary anatomy brainry, and today we are going to discuss the first bone of the forelimb, that is the scapula. And this scapula is basically forming a joint with the other bone downwards here. So this is basically in the head of the humerus where it is articulating with the cavity of scapula forming the shoulder joint. And this bone is basically a flat bone, classified in the classification of the flat bone, and attach it to the body as craniolateral aspect, and the direction of this bone is usually obliquely downwards and forwards. If you take the animal tail this side and the head this side, so it is obliquely downwards and forwards because the other bone will be obliquely downwards and the backwards, that is the humerus, and these two bones will form the joint what we call as the shoulder joint. Now one side of this bone is attached here, forming a joint, forming a true joint with that of the humerus, but the other side is without any articulation. So this whole of the scapula will be attached with the rest of the body by the muscles, by the muscle, only muscle, no any other bone will be involved on this side. Simply the muscle attachment will be there with the body and the scapula, and that type of joint is called as a synsarcosis. So this way it will be attached. So this is the bone that is attached directly on the craniolateral aspect of the thoracic cavity, and forming the synsarcosis here, what we call as a phallus joint, and here it is forming a true joint with that of the head of the humerus as a true joint. Now let us see some of the features of this bone. This is basically the scapula of ox. Then we can go and compare with the rest of the animals. So as I told you that this bone is classified as a flat bone, and usually this bone has two palates. One of the palate is this one, and other palate is this one, and both the palates are connected by cementing material here. So if you look out, so you can see there is a cementing material here, cementing material connecting this palate with that of this palate, and this cementing material is called as diploy. So the diploy is a cementing material that is connecting the two plates of the bone and forming the scapula. This bone has two surfaces. One of the surface will be this, that's called as a lateral surface, and one of the surface will be here, that's called as a medial surface. So the lateral surface basically is itself divided by this sharp structure what we call as a spine, and this spine in case of the ox gives unequal division to the lateral surface, forming the bigger or the larger fossa what we call as here we call as infraspinatus fossa, and a small fossa here called as the supraspinatus fossa. So this is whole is the supraspinatus fossa, this is larger one is the infraspinatus fossa. So here in this fossa there will be the presence of the muscle that is called as the supraspinatus muscle, and in this fossa there will be the presence of the muscle that is called as infraspinatus muscle. And just on this side, on this infraspinatus fossa, there will be the attachment of the muscle here what we call as teres minor muscle. So teres minor muscle will be here. Then this spine basically that divides unequal division on the lateral surface has tuberous nature in the center part, and this tuberous nature is for the attachment of one of the very important muscle, that is the trapezius muscle. And if you look out here, the spine that divides unequal goes here and downwards, forming a process here, prolongs forward and the downwards here, forming a process here what we call as the acromion process. So this is the acromion process here, and to this acromion process there will be the attachment of the muscle that we call as the deltoideus muscle. And if you look out on the medial aspect, again it has a shallow groove on the medial aspect that is called as subscapular fossa, and in the lifetime there will be the attachment of a muscle here that is called as subscapularis muscle. The upper third, that means, so this is the upper, so the upper third on this medial aspect usually is very rough, and this roughness is called as fascia serrata. So this is the fascia serrata, this is very rough on the upper third. So this medial surface on this upper third is very rough, this is called as a fascia serrata. And there is a triangular area here on this surface for the attachment of the muscle, because there will be attachment of the muscle here, that's called as serratus ventralis cervicis. So if you look out, there is a triangular area here. So this is for the serratus ventralis muscle, and one more muscle will be attached on this aspect, that is the serratus ventralis thoracis. So the two muscles will be attached on this roughness, one on the cranial aspect because this is the cranial fossa, and this is the medial cranial part of the medial on the middle side. So here on the cranial aspect there will be the attachment of the muscle, that is the serratus ventralis cervicis, and on caudal area there will be the attachment of the muscle, that is serratus ventralis thoracis. Borders of this bone are three. One of the border will be this will be the cranial border, this will be the caudal border, and this will be the dorsal border, because the direction of this is like this, obliquely downwards and forwards. So this way it is a head, so this becomes the cranial border. This way back side it is a tail, so this becomes the caudal border. This is the towards the upper side, this becomes the dorsal border. So if you look out clearly the cranial border, so cranial border starts convex then goes concave. So this cranial border has two parts, convex part and the concave part, and usually it is very thin. And if you look out the caudal border is thick as compared to that of the cranial border. So caudal border is very thick, and it bears on its lower third, it bears a foramen here, what you call as a nutrient foramen. So here it is a foramen here, that's called as a nutrient foramen, and there will be 3-4 muscles that is attached on this caudal border. Usually there is deltoides muscle, there is a teres major muscle, there is attachment of long head of triceps muscle, there is a tensor fascia antebrachii. So 3-4 muscles will be attached on the caudal border, that is a very thick border having the nutrient foramen on its lower third. Dorsal border you see here, so dorsal border is this one. So this is a dorsal border, usually it is pitted in appearance. So you can see this is a pitted in appearance dorsal border, and in the lifetime there is an unossified part attached to this dorsal border, that is called as scapular cartilage. So you can see in this scapula there is a scapular cartilage still present. So this has not ossified in the lifetime and it remains like this in case of the ruminants. So this is called a scapular cartilage, and usually the scapular cartilage is semilunar. If we draw the scapular cartilage of this, so it will be like this. So scapular cartilage will be like this on the dorsal border. And on this medial aspect of this scapular cartilage, means this side, there will be the attachment of the muscle. So this is the medial border, medial surface of this scapular cartilage. So on this surface there will be the attachment of the muscle, that is a rhomboideus muscle. So this is scapular cartilage, usually semilunar in outline. Angles I told you will be 3 in number. So one of the angle will be here. So this is called as cranial angle. So as the scapula is like this, or here we can say, so this angle here will be the cranial angle, this will be the caudal angle, and this will be the glenoid angle. So 3 angles will be there. One angle is here. So cranial angle, caudal angle, and here the angle will be formed, that is called as a glenoid angle. The cranial angle is usually always the thin, the caudal is usually thicker in outline, and the cranial angle is also called, this angle is also called as the cervical angle. This angle is also known as the thoracic angle, and the glenoid angle that is formed. So here you can see how the glenoid angle will be formed. So this border and this border together here will form an angle that is called as a glenoid angle. So this will be the glenoid angle, and glenoid angle usually carries a one here cavity. That's why the name is glenoid angle, but it's called as a glenoid cavity here. So the glenoid cavity is this, and the rim of this glenoid cavity, if you see the outline of this glenoid cavity, so this is the outline, it is somewhat notched here. You can see it is somewhat notched here, and this notched glenoid cavity, this notch is called as incisura scapulae. So this is usually present on the craniolateral aspect of the glenoid cavity. So this is the notch, and this glenoid cavity on its upper side or on its cranial side, you can see here. So this is the glenoid cavity where the head of the humerus will articulate, and on its upper side you will have one more here, tubercle here, tuberosity here, what you call as tuber scapulae, or what you call as supraglenoid tubercle. So this is supragular tubercle here on its cranial aspect, on its upper aspect, and to this supragular tubercle or tuber scapulae there will be the attachment of the biceps brachii muscle. So here the biceps brachii will attach, and on the medial aspect of this supragular tubercle or tuber scapula, medial is this way. So you can see here there is one more small process here. So small process is here. This one small process is here. This is called as coracoid process. As the clavicle is absent in case of the ruminants, in case of ruminant there is no clavicle, in case of ox there is no clavicle. So coracoid is in the form of a small process just attached on the medial aspect of the supragular tubercle. So this is the coracoid process, small process, coracoid process, and to this there will be the attachment of the coracobrachialis muscle. So this is the gallbladder cavity, this is the notch, incisura notch, and this is on its cranial aspect because this is the cranial, this is the cranial border, and this is the suprascapular fossa, this is the cranial border. So this is the gallbladder cavity, and this is what we call as supragular tubercle. Then on its medial aspect, because this is the medial surface, on its medial aspect there is a small process what we call as coracoid process, where there will be the attachment of coracobrachialis muscle. So this is all about the scapula of ox. The comparison with that of other animal we can go in the next lecture. So by this way you can direct this scapula to which side this belongs. So if this is the top side, what we call as cranial side, this is the caudal side. This side I am putting the head. If I am putting head this side, tail this side, so this will be the right scapula. So you can just direct this scapula on the basis of attachment of this either tuber scapulae or supragular tubercle, or if you have this what we call as supra spinous fossa, and you can decide to which side this will belong. Thank you. See you in the next class.